there was this image that people had of who it is that is on welfare, right? Like the person that is getting EBT and SNAP benefits. The image was some lazy, typically black woman, right? That was the image that they wanted to portray. But then people found out that we have 42 million people that rely on SNAP benefits in this country, and that's only $6 a day to eat, $2 a meal, which I'm not really sure what all you get for that. But they wanted to make people believe who weren't on SNAP benefits that these people are the real drain on our system, when you're worried about somebody getting $6 a day to eat, and the real welfare queen is like Elon Musk, who gets $8 million a day from the federal government.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. People like to associate being black with poverty. Let's call it what it is, okay? It's out there, right? It's out there because when people were attacking, oh, they need to get rid of SNAP, they need to do A, B, C, D, they were saying all that so they could get rid of black people who are benefiting on that, forgetting that their own people are also benefiting from that. But because they had this image of, oh my God, it must be black people benefiting from this, so that's why we need to get rid of this. That's when the racism was just jumping out, and the term welfare queen was floating around. Welfare queen was going around. The other videos that you're going to see coming up where she'll be explaining the welfare queen, because we're here to learn, okay? But it's funny how when people see certain things, like she's brought it up, right? People like to just blame black poverty or black fatigue and not the system that has created the racism that has sort of kept the black person down. They weirdly want to forget all about that. It's all about, oh, you know what, the oppressed, oh, you're lazy, there's a reason why black people are lazy. I've seen that statement. You're going to see the videos, okay? This is not from me. I've seen the statement. You're gonna see it, right? Black people are lazy, they don't like to work hard, they are where they are because of that. But it's just like, what about the system? What about the oppressors? What about them being oppressed? What about, like, how can you succeed in a place that's was already created for you to fail? It's like a plant. How do you expect a plant to grow in a desert when there was no water for it to begin with in the first place? Let's dive in. Hi there, my name is Janita Maya. If you like this video and more, please make sure you subscribe, and you subscribe. Okay, let's dive in.
You want to meet a welfare queen? This is what she actually looked like. This is from an article called "The Truth Behind the Lies of the Original Welfare Queen." This was who Reagan was talking about when he was talking about our welfare queen. This is an article written by Gene Demby, and you can find it on NPR. And that woman was listed as white in the 1930 census. Yeah, but she had dark skin and dark hair. It says people who know her and her family told Levin that she had native ancestry. One of her husbands, who was black, said she could look like an Asian woman at times. Another earlier husband and ostensible father to some of her children was white. And during the marriage, she gave birth to kids who alternately appeared black, unmistakably white, or racially ambiguous. At times, she posed as a Jewish woman. In one photo, she has long blonde hair. Part of the reason why this is so crucial is that Reagan made a branding choice when it came to her. He branded her as solely black, right? Like as the opposition to his policy choices to undermine the welfare system. And this gets me to a point that I've been trying to make, or like at least trying to articulate for a little while now, is that race is often used as a brand tool. It is used as a brand asset, just like picking any sort of color scheme or font. It is used as an indicator for branding of certain topics. And messages change depending on who they are surrounding. Like, we know this to be true, but it's really important that we say it out loud. It also can dictate the efficacy of a message depending on who it's coming from. I don't trust middle-class white people to tell me what a dog whistle is, because that message cannot possibly come from them. Nor do I trust them to tell me what areas are safe versus not safe to be in. My safety cannot rely upon their ignorance, because historically their skin color as a message has meant safety amongst their own, regardless of their political beliefs. Similarly, the choice to make Linda Taylor black means that they were making the choice to make sure that people could not relate to her in any way, shape, or form. That they could other her and not see programs that they themselves relied upon as white people. Utilizing racist stereotypes and tropes to undermine an entire system that supports a majority of people that look not like me. Racial ambiguity doesn't matter when you need your opponent to be black. And since race is whatever whiteness needs it to be at the time, you are whoever they say you are.
So at this point, we have all heard the term welfare queen at least once in our lifetimes. If you're not familiar with the term welfare queen, it is used to indicate a woman who is supposedly lazy, who sits around on her ass all day, who is not gainfully employed, and games the system via welfare. This phrase was first coined back in the late 70s when Ronald Reagan was running for president. At many stops on the campaign trail, he would give the same speech talking about why the welfare system needed to be reformed. Whenever he gave this speech, he would use as an example a Chicago woman named Linda Taylor. In 1976, Linda Taylor was arrested and charged with multiple counts of welfare fraud. She used multiple identities, some stolen, some simply false, in order to gain access to multiple streams of welfare. But it was soon discovered that welfare was really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what Linda Taylor was actually up to. I first heard about Linda Taylor and her story back in 2013 when this extensive long form article was published on slate.com. I revisit this article probably once every other year. This story has had me in a grip for over 12 years. It is honestly one of the most fascinating and deeply unsettling true crime stories that I have heard. I'm not going to go into any details about Linda Taylor or this article because I really want all of you to read it for yourselves. If you are not interested in reading this particular article on slate.com, if you just simply Google Linda Taylor Welfare Queen, you will find links to many of the other articles that have popped up over the last 12 years. The author of this particular article on Slate has also published a book and released a podcast about Linda Taylor, I want to say around 2018 or 2019. And if you do decide to read the story and you want to talk about it, feel free to come back to the comments here and we can definitely chat.
In the midst of millions losing access to SNAP benefits, people are arguing about who deserves food stamps and if they're essential at all. It's all tied to a decades-old idea that paints Black women as the face of abusing government assistance, aka welfare queens. I'm Alante Serene, and you're watching Melanin Mythbusters, where we explore all sorts of Black milestones, mysteries, memories, and myths. So let's get into it. The term welfare queen is aimed mostly at Black women with little or no income, and it's based off the idea that they're tricking the government into benefits they don't really need. The term was originally based off a woman named Linda Taylor. She was born in Tennessee in 1926 as Martha Louise White, with a white mother, Black father, and light complexion that allowed her to pass for different races. By the time she was a teenager, she was already knee-deep into fraud and had several different names and identities. Linda pulled off a bunch of elaborate scams and racked up thousands of dollars until she caught the attention of Ronald Reagan. While Ronald was running for president in 1976, he used Linda's story as fuel for his campaign to cut and coined the term welfare queen. And sure, Linda's fraud was real, but the way that Ronald spent it made it seem like her Black workers are less likely to receive unemployment insurance benefits than white workers, even though they're laid off at equal or higher rates. And about 45% of food stamp recipients are white, while just 27% are Black. So the majority of people on food stamps aren't Black. Yet that stereotype is still present to this day. And thanks to Ronald's messaging, welfare queen became code for laziness, fraud, and government dependence, and was projected onto poor Black women for decades. And today's convo is about SNAP benefits mirror a long history of deciding what poor Black and brown folks deserve access to. Follow Melanin Mythbusters to explore more Black milestones, mysteries, memories, and myths.
Learn when to shut the fuck up, in the wise words of my dear friend, Meech the Innovator. I was scrolling yesterday and I found myself in a live with a bunch of Black people that were talking about how lazy Black people were. In America, that stereotype was invented after slavery, after our ancestors built this country for free. But when slavery ended, we started our own farms, opened businesses, learned trades, and when we succeeded, they burned our towns, stole our land, and called us lazy to hide what they did. And in Africa, the same game. Europeans came during colonization, took our land, our gold, our minerals, and everything we had, even our people. They forced Africans into labor for mines, railroads, and plantations. And then they turned around and told the world we were lazy if we didn't want to work for pennies under a whip. And the truth is, we still face those same discriminations and injustices against us every single day. because Africa's fed empires. Our resources still power the modern world today, from cobalt in Congo to oil in Nigeria. Yet our people are painted as unproductive while others get rich off of our labor. This stereotype was never about truth, it was about control. If they can convince the world you're lazy, they can justify exploiting you.
Those Sora videos, the fake ones where people are lying about food stamps to whip everybody into a frenzy. Yeah, don't forget that they chose to make them Black women because they're racist. And it's disgusting. You know how in court you can say something super inflammatory and then they'll make them strike it from the record so the jury can't consider it? But it doesn't matter because the damage is already done. The jury has already been exposed to the thing. They have already seen the thing. And you can't get that out of your brain. That's what these AI videos do. It doesn't matter if we debunk them later. A large portion of the public is going to see them and not care if they're fake or not, just believe it. These videos don't confront any assumptions. They just feed into confirmation bias for racists. We need regulations, we need laws around clearly identifying and labeling AI-generated content, and a tiny little logo in the top right is not gonna cut it.
Okay, guys, we've come to the end of this episode. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Have you been called a welfare queen? The audacity of anyone to call you that. Okay, let's do let me know in the comment section, and be sure to follow me on all my socials at Janita Maya and my website janitamaya.com. I'll be sure to engage with you everywhere, literally everywhere. But yeah, guys, happy Thanksgiving. I don't know when this gets out, but either way, happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. See you next time.